Today I'm going to show you how to make this pattern. It's a nice scale pattern. I've got some shading on it, and it has kind of a three-dimensional look to it. I've got lines on here to indicate that it has ridges and bumps on it. And we will go ahead and get started with that right now. And to get that design, we're going to have a square canvas. This is 2048 by 2048. I am using the monoline brush under calligraphy, and I have it set for 25%. And the first thing we want to do is set up our grid guideline. So we're going to go to the Actions menu. Remember, that's the wrench up at the top. We'll go to Canvas, turn on the drawing guide, and then we're going to edit the drawing guide. The grid size, which down here says 65 pixels, we're going to make 512 and give that a done. And this gives us a perfect 4x4 grid. I'm going to have the lines colored blue by moving this. And then down at the bottom left, I'm going to change the opacity to max. And I'm going to click on Done. And what we want to do is create a curve that goes from here to here. That way we can have a slightly flat bottom. I'm going to angle this way. I am right-handed. If you're left-handed, just angle the other way if you want. I'm going to create the arc right here. I'm going to hold until it says arc created. I'm going to edit the shape. And I want to make sure that this sits right about there, above that blue line. And above that blue line. And the other end, I want to make sure that it intersects that cross line right there. Then we'll tap outside. And we're going to make this a symmetry move. So we're going to duplicate layer 1. We're going to add a layer. I'm going to tap on it and say fill layer. Tap on the letter N right there. It shows that it's normal. I'm going to change the opacity to somewhere around 10%. And then I'm going to slide the top layer 1 over to the right. And you see how that selects both layer 3 and that layer 1. And then I want to choose the transform tool, which is the arrow up at the top left. And I'm going to flip that horizontal. That flips it evenly. And I can now get rid of that layer 3 and merge these two layer 1s together. And now what I want to do is connect these bottoms. So I'm just going to draw a straight line, wait until it says line created. It'll be right up here. Once I release that line, it lets me do the edit shape. And I just want to make sure that that line matches up with the ends of our two curves. And then tap outside. And as you can see, that gives us a slightly flattened bottom. I'm going to merge. Well, we already merged. That's good. I'm going to choose the transform tool again. And for snapping, down here at the bottom left, I want to make sure that magnetics and snapping is on. I have my distance set for 10 and the velocity set for 1.6. And I'm just going to pull that down until it snaps. I will turn off that transform tool, zoom in. You can see that there's non-black spaces there. Turn that transform tool back on. And then I'm going to tap right down here underneath this yellow line to move this down until there's nothing but the black line there. And then I can turn the transform tool off. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to turn the transform tool back on. Slide this up until it snaps. Then I'm going to zoom in on the bottom of our shape, and I want this bottom to be right here on that line. This will, of course, cut off our shape up at the top, and that's exactly what we want to happen. I am now going to move this back down to the bottom, and it'll fit in there perfectly. We're going to duplicate layer 1 and move the duplicate up, and I want it to center this yellow line onto the grid where the top of the shape below is. And you can see that here. I need to move it over this way just a little bit. One more tap. Oops. Hate it when it does that. Two-finger undo helps. And there it is. It's directly on that grid line, which means I can turn this off. And we're going to do the symmetry thing again. I'm going to duplicate this layer 1. I'm going to create a new layer, and we'll do the fill on it. So I tap on layer 4, and I say fill layer. Tap on the N, make the opacity somewhere around 10%. And then I want to slide the top layer 1 over to the right so that layer 4 and layer 1 are both selected. Hit the transform arrow, flip horizontal, and then I can get rid of that layer 4. I can merge these two top layer 1s down, and we have a perfect match. And now we want to do the bottom, but we're going to need half images. So once again, I'm going to slide this over. Being right-handed, I like to slide it to the left so that the middle snaps right up there against that edge. And then once again, I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to fill a new layer, set the opacity down to somewhere around 10% so it's easy to see. Slide the top layer 1 over, and then flip it horizontally. And then I can get rid of layer 5. And that's pretty darn good. However, we now need to have the extra information that we want in here. So I'm just going to leave all this together like this. I'm going to group them. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to inking. And we're going to use the technical pen, which I have set at 15%. And we're going to make the extra indicators in there to show that this is a 3D shape. You want one side to go really far down, and I start off light and press down as I go up in order to get that thick line. And then I'm going to do a shorter line here, then at the bottom, thicker when you get up, and you can see that I actually have a little extra bulge right here. And that's because what I did was I started light, I pressed down, I lit up, and then I pressed down again. But, I think that looks pretty unique. We're going to keep it there. And now, on this side, we're going to put a curve. It's going to be thin down here and thick up here. And we're going to do the same thing over here with a slightly shorter curve. I'm just making the curves on the right long and the curves on the left short. You can do that opposite if you want. So we're going to follow this and press down as we go up. And as you can see, I have a very shaky hand. I'm going to hold it there, and it says arc created. I release, and now I can edit my shape. And I don't want it to hook so much at the top. So I'm going to pull the middle down a little bit. And there we go. And then let's make another one here. Start off light, thicken up. And then we do the edit shape. And I want it to be a little bit thicker over there. Pull that top down slightly by moving the middle dot. And there we go. We have our shape. And what I'm trying to do is indicate that the profile, if you were to slice right down the middle there, would have a bump, a slight curve, and a bump. And we're just trying to get that all together. So we're going to take our layer 6, we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to slide this all the way over until it matches to the side. See how it just snapped right in there. And then we will duplicate the same layer 6 here. And we will move it down to here like this. And we want it to snap into the side. Okay, we're going to take this layer 1 right here. We're going to duplicate it and put it up here. And then we can slide this layer 6 over like this. Let's go up. Move this like this and match them up. Okay. And then I want the same thing to be showing there. So I'm going to need this one and this one. So I'm going to duplicate this. And then I'm going to move these down here like this. And we match the scales, and thus we match the top. Very good. So now I can actually delete this one and delete this one. And I have these two, which I'm going to merge together. Duplicate, add a layer, fill it, go down to 10%. And then I'm going to take these two. I'm not going to flip them. Otherwise, if you do that, then you end up with a set of scales that has a short one on the left and a short one on the right. We don't want that. I'm going to take this and simply slide it over here until it's halfway through. And that will cause our pattern on the scales to match perfectly. So now all this together is the pattern that we want. I'm going to slide all of this together, and I'm also going to slide that one. I'm going to group them together. I'm going to duplicate that group, and then I'm going to flatten it. And that gives us the pattern that we want. We're going to do an invert. I'm going to copy that layer. I'm going to create a new layer on top. And then I'm going to go here to my patterns where I've been putting all my scale patterns. Let's create a new brush. We tap on the plus sign to create a new one. We go down to grain, edit, import, paste. And we can tap on done. Our rendering is going to be light glaze. Apple pencil, opacity I want to be all the way off. Properties, we're going to set the maximum size to 400. And then I'm going to tap on done. And that will give us this lovely pattern. Not too bad, huh? And then I'm going to show you how to put shading on this. So I'm going to invert layer 1 again. Let's clear layer 13. I'm going to put layer 1 here as our reference. And that way I can choose, let's go with a medium gray. And under airbrushing, I've got the soft brush. It's currently set to size 15. I select this, and I want this part to be nicely shaded. And then I can duplicate that and move it so it fits in here. And that's a little low. That's okay for now. Just make sure that it's off the right hand side and shorten that selection up a little bit. Okay. Now we can match this in. Do the same thing here. I just kind of match that up to this. And we want to make sure that it goes right there. And then we're going to tap down until that black is fully exposed. We'll tap over this way. And there we go. We got that one all done. We can merge these two together. Duplicate it. And then we just have to get that one just right. I think that went off scope. So we'll move it over here again. There. And then we get it on this one. And so now I can duplicate that. I can pinch all of this together. Invert it. Copy. And I'm just going to duplicate my last brush. Grain, edit, import, paste. Give that a done. And that's where you get the nicely shaded tiles. I hope that this has helped you out. And I hope you have a wonderful day.